Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to add the live to Instagram too, and then we should be all good to go. So here we go. Right. So first of all, thank you all very much for coming to the live and for talking about what is, I think, for us a very shocking time at the moment in the language learning community. I woke up the other day to the very sad news about Moses McCormick, and you know when you read something and then you have to you can't almost believe what you're reading and seeing, and you're checking to see whether or not it's actually true and what's going on, and that was kind of the sort of start to the day. And when I realized that it was true, I've been in shock really ever since. And as many of you, I think, whether you knew Moses in person or you'd seen his videos or whether you'd spoken to him or whatever your sort of connection to him, you may have watched his videos and loved them. You may have watched his videos and not been as enthused. But the fact was that he was a big member and a sort of an important member of our language learning community. And I think at the age of 39, for him to die so suddenly and unexpectedly for us all, I think just it's a natural thing for us as human beings to find that hard to process. And I definitely feel that that's how it's been for me on a personal level. And I know a few people have reached out to me and reached out to each other as well. And I think it's healthy to reach out to each other and to talk to each other and to comfort each other. And obviously I have these lives every Sunday anyway, and normally we talk just about language learning and I answer your questions about language learning. But I couldn't really, in all honesty, do a normal live this week with what happened to Moses. Instead, I thought it was more appropriate to talk a little bit about our community, the language learning community, and how it started, and a little bit about the history of where Moses was in all of that picture and all of that story. And I hope that sharing that with you will also give you some sense of feeling of togetherness, which I think we need to be together at a time like this in the community. And for me personally as well, I've found it handy, useful and sort of comforting, I guess is the best word, to talk about and sort of explore sort of what I've been feeling and the shock and to sort of everything that's been going on. Now, some people asked me some questions about Moses. So someone asked if I knew what happened. Well, I don't know exactly what happened. All I know is what's on the GoFundMe page, which I've linked to on my Facebook live and also on YouTube. So if you want to donate some money to Moses' family to help with the expenses, which in the United States I know are quite substantial, then you can donate money there to his family. And what his family have written there is that there were heart complications. So I know that in 2015 Moses had he suffered a stroke, and it's something he talked about openly on his YouTube channel, and something a lot of us wrote to him, very concerned, obviously, and sent him our best wishes. And clearly, that's something that was quite worrying at the time as well. And we were just glad that he was able to pull through. But much more than that, I don't know about what happened. All I know is that he'd uploaded a new video on YouTube not long before it happened, and also he'd had an italki lesson not long before it happened. And and so it wasn't something that was expected at all. I just want to say that I you know, my heart goes out to his family and his, you know, his friends back home who you know, who care for him in the US and all over the world. And I can't imagine just how they must be feeling right now. We all take these kinds of this news in different ways, and we deal with it in our own way each time. And I, you know, my heart particularly goes out to his daughters. He had 3 daughters, and you know, I hope that in the future they'll get some comfort from knowing that he had a very positive impact on the language community and did good things. And so let's talk about that today and focus on where all that started. So I met Moses for the first time in an online environment, and that was a forum that we were both engaged on called How to Learn Any Language. And this is before there was really very much at all about languages on YouTube. At that time, when we were talking on the forum, I think there were 2 videos maybe out there, 1 or 2 maybe max, when Moses started talking online. And I just made my first video. I was the 3rd polyglot language related video to go online with my 16 language video. But we were all interacting, and soon Moses joined, and Benny and a number of other people joined. And now obviously the YouTube community is huge, and we've got some names on there that we didn't know about when it first started, who have got a remarkable followings. And Moses' story really is quite an interesting one, because when he first started, he got a lot of criticism, often quite a lot of negative criticism about studying languages and lots of languages, and people saying he wasn't going so deep into them. And Moses, I think, quite rightly and eloquently stated that his goal was to explore languages and to do them to a point where he could have nice conversations with people. And I think that in and of itself is a really nice goal to have, because what you saw in his later videos when they got very, very popular was he'd go into shops or into different places, he'd go to restaurants, he'd go all over the place where he was living and talk to people. And really, you could see the positive reactions in people when he'd use their language to talk to him, to talk to them. And he just had that way about him, you know, of sort of smiling and being positive about the whole language learning process. And he recognized and clearly knew how that had an impact on relationships with people when you first meet them, and how it impacted on their mood. You could see that they were visibly moved by what he did. And so he's touched a lot of lives during his time with us, and I'm very glad that he was able to do that. And those videos will continue to be a motivation for many, many people for many, many years to come. The other thing Moses did was he had his own sort of his boot camps, his level ups, where he used all of sort of these techniques that he coined to related to his passion for video games, with leveling up. And he'd go out and he'd put himself out there and do his best to improve his languages. I don't know how many of you know about him on italki, but whenever there was an italki challenge, he'd be there. One year he won the italki challenge because he'd done the most amount of lessons in the space of a month. This year he actually came 10th out of everyone, and it's out of thousands of people. So I mean, he came 10th, and he did some crazy number of hours, of like 140 hours, I think, in a month of language lessons. He was an absolute machine for language learning. And you know, regardless of what people think about learning languages to one or two languages to a very high level, or learning lots of languages to a level where you can communicate and have fun with people. Regardless of that, he was very dedicated in what he did, and he was very passionate about it. And I think, one of the things that I've seen happening since the news broke about his death is people saying that how much he's influenced them, and how much they got into languages and got into a passion for languages because of him. Now, when we first started talking and sort of interacting on the internet, it was 2013. Benny released, so he put a song together with a number of us in the community at the time, against sort of the backdrop of Skype Me Maybe, but using language learning lyrics, and Moses took part in that with us all, and it was a lot of fun to sort of see. I had no idea how that would turn out as a concept. Benny's quite ingenious with these kinds of ideas, and I didn't really quite get it, so my part of the video looks a bit daft. But with Moses, he surrounded himself with all of his language books, and I think that's just the image I have when I think of him, with all of those different teach yourself books that he had, and how he'd used them to study for his sort of boot camp sessions, and for months on end just studying a language or languages intensively. And from that, when we started the Polyglot Conference, which was in Budapest for the very first time, so I mean, that came out of a conversation Luca and I had in Poland, where Luca said, wouldn't it be good, to get together? And together we developed the thought of an idea of having a get together in person, right? So I had a background in conference organizing anyway, so I was able to use those skills to put together the very first conference and to do the organizational parts. And Luca is very much the cover boy. But the really nice thing is not everybody in the community could come to the conference, the very first one, and Moses couldn't make it in person. But what he did do is he made a video to welcome people and to support the conference openly. And the same as Steve Kaufman. Steve Kaufman did the same thing at the very first conference. He made a video and made a generous donation to the conference. And that support from even people when they couldn't make it, and just having the support, I think was really important to me personally, but also to the community. And so when people ask me about what I've had a few messages privately asking if I know what happened and how I feel. And the thing is, I feel a bit too much at the moment still. I'm still in shock. And yeah, I don't, all I can do is share where I am right now with that news. And I hope that for some of you, that will be new information that you can sort of understand the history and all of this, because I think sometimes when we look at people, we look at them at where they are at a certain point, right? And there are so many dimensions and so many facets to an individual, and their lives and their histories are so much more complex than what we see on the face of it. And I think definitely with Moses, there's a long and strong history of being supportive and being encouraging and being positive, and I'll miss seeing that. I am glad that his videos will continue to be around, and that people can still continue to be inspired by his story and what he's done. And yeah, and we're at the moment, I kind of just wanted to sort of talk a little bit about him, and I'm sure that as the time goes on, we will think of ways of doing things in his memory and his honor, and I think that's an important thing to do. So we will do things that will sort of, I think, be fitting to sort of really pay respect to Moses, and make sure that we carry his torch of positivity forward in the language learning community, so that more and more people continue to have the courage to continue with the language studies, to break through the difficult aspects of it, and to move forward. And so yeah, I had a couple of questions as well. I'm just going to have a look to see if there's anything here. So Tom Coakley writes, what impact did Moses have on giving new learners the confidence to study a language? I think a lot. I think that what Moses did was he didn't care if he made mistakes or got things slightly wrong. You'd hear him in his videos often laughing if he was corrected, and then he'd repeat the correction back. So a really good important lesson from Moses to learn for language learning is to be confident and to go forward and say what you think is right. And even if it's wrong, it doesn't matter. People will smile, they may correct you, and you can repeat it back, and you can have a laugh about those mistakes together. And this is something you hear often in what he says. And I think it's really important that we keep that in mind. And I think Moses has given that to a lot of people. And I think we should continue learning from that lesson over the years to come. And as I say, there's so much material out there that he's produced. Fortunately, there's plenty of plenty of good stuff there for us to keep and to keep him alive in our hearts. And so yeah. I think I've covered the questions that I got. I covered them either in the questions, whether I just talked about what my experience, and also the questions that I got that were slightly different to what I was talking about. But if you have any questions that you want me to answer, I'm happy to do my best to answer those questions. I'll start having a look at the chat now to see. And yeah, I can see you all saying, it really is. It's still extremely difficult to sort of fully comprehend and to fully accept what's happened. And I've just been very happy to see all of the positive messages and all of the nice things you've all been saying. Thank you for all coming together and for doing that. Okay, I'm gonna let's see. I'm just going to see if there are any other questions about Moses, and then I think continuing with my normal Q&A about language learning, I think is fitting for him, because I think that's what he wanted to do, and it's what we have in common. We were both very much all for promoting language learning and a healthy community, and I think that. Yeah, thank you, Ken. I'm hanging in there. It's been, I think, on top of all the news as well, we've all been through a very difficult year, and so clearly there's an awful lot been going on for many of us around the world, and I think this is where we come together and we talk and we have open dialogue about how we feel and what we think, and how we move on. And for me, I think that's an important part of the process. And as I say, I mean, I've linked to the family's GoFundMe page on YouTube and on Facebook. So please do feel free to go there and check them out, to check it out. And if you're able to and can donate something, then do. What I would say is, if you can't donate something, then I'd say use his legacy and celebrate him by taking that torch forward and spreading love for languages, language learning, supporting people, making people smile by reaching out with some words that you learn in somebody else's language. I think doing things like that would be probably the best thing you could do. And I think probably the most fitting thing that you could do for Moses. He very much was always about learning, and all about learning new things and new languages, and he was constantly on italki, trying out new teachers and doing all these things. So it's okay, more mirror languages. Yeah, it seemed important to him to give people who speak those languages a voice. But minor languages, yeah, exactly. So it was important to him to speak minor languages, and yeah, and you hope that people will be inspired to learn those. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with that. So Moses, when the first time, I remember him making videos, and he was speaking in languages from African countries that people just weren't really learning very widely in the community. And I think he did some Yoruba, and he did. I saw him in one video, even learning Haitian Creole, speaking to people in Haitian Creole, and he's just the man was super impressive. And I mean, I think if you go out and learn a language like that, that would be amazing. I mean, it really is. It's something I strongly believe in, that as avid language learners, it's a very nice thing to learn a minority, endangered, or indigenous language. And with the Polyglot Conference, we've always made a concerted effort to put those languages to the front as well, so that it's not just the languages that people would commonly learn because of the materials are always there. Moses definitely went out. He was learning Kurdish, I think, on italki. He had a Kurdish teacher, and there aren't a huge amount of materials for some of these languages. So yeah, please do go out there and learn, and yeah, keep that sort of love of language alive, and be inspired by Moses and what he did and what he achieved, and take the positive out of all of the good he did, and move it forward, and share his story, and share because it's in doing that. I think also it helps to highlight how, to the family and to other friends and people who weren't in the language community, but they see the difference that he made to so many lives. So I think it would be super the right thing to do, really. It would be to do that for him and for his family. So Nimrod, how do we keep his name in memory within the community? We talk about him. That's how we keep him in the community. And we do things in his name. And there's a hashtag, actually, that somebody in the Polyglot Conference group came up with. And I'm just going to see if I can find it now for you. And it's, I think it was Laoshu 5500 forever. And I'll see if I can add it to the video, so that you can on YouTube, and also on the post in Facebook, so that you can see how to use that too. I think there are many ways we can keep his memory going in the community. Maybe we should create a language challenge in his name. That absolutely, there could be a way that we could do that, White Feathers. We could do something like that. I think it would be very nice to do something where his using his methodology, using his sort of those boot camp ideas, Here we go. So I'll shoot 55,000. Yeah, 55,000 forever. Yeah, I think that these things are over the years. We're going to continue to bring him up. We're going to continue to talk about him. Absolutely. Okay. I'm yeah, the FLR course. Here we go. Craig Hughes says here on YouTube that the FLR courses that he had are excellent, and many different languages as well through his YouTube merchandise. I don't know what's happening with all of that now, but I hope that will continue, Craig, and I really think that, you know, the more we can do, I think, is the more we can do to sort of keep what he did forever alive is really important. And I don't think he's one of those names that's going to disappear from our memories and our hearts easily anytime soon. I think that he's always going to be. Yeah, Zarko, Nikolic, you're exactly right. He will be remembered as an extraordinary person, and you're right. He will. It's what if Hollywood gets hold of Moses' story? That would be that would be really impressive. I think one of the things that inspires me about Moses, and I never got when people in the beginning, when they were negative about certain aspects of things, people were being critical, and people have been critical over the years. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that Moses, didn't get negative criticism. He did, but this was kind of my response to that kind of criticism. Was he's chosen to do something positive. He could choose to do anything in life that he wanted to do. And what did he do? He chose to learn languages of communities, to bring people together. And it doesn't matter about how well he spoke or pronounced a language or a word. It really doesn't matter. The fact was he did something super, super positive that touched many people. And quite honestly, what more can you expect from somebody? I think that human beings, we have a chance to do something good, and we have a chance to do something positive, right? And what he did was positive. I mean, we don't have the same culture in the UK as in the US, and I know it's a very different culture, and I know particularly Black men suffer from quite a lot of prejudice, and people will make assumptions, and there's pressure to join gangs, and there's all sorts of social things in the US, particularly for a Black man to sort of overcome. And what Moses did was just incredible. He serves even now, after his death, he still serves as a true and positive example for Black Americans and the rest of humanity around the world, as a really, really good example of something good you can do with your life, something positive you can do with your life, something you can give to other people. And so, I mean, that for me is kind of the legacy that he's left behind, and that will remain. And I'm so glad that he was able to do that. Okay, here we go. So Marcus says that he had the privilege of Skyping with him back in 2014 after he bought the FLR Tagalog course, and that his passion was infectious during the session, and it hurts to know that he's gone. Yeah. Benny put out a post on Twitter saying that, and I remember when Benny went to meet Moses in the US. He went to Ohio, and Moses met him in the car, and Benny was telling me all about it afterwards. And he just said he was so positive and so full of energy. And just so into the languages. It wasn't just something that, you know, you think that people just sort of do things online sometimes when you see them in 2-dimension, right? So, and with him, it was just his all. He gave his all to it, and I think that's the thing that you felt, Marcus, is that. Okay. Somebody here. I was someone who was critical of his methods, but the more I learned, the more I respected his own personal methods, positivity and motivation. That's really good of you to sort of say that and to admit it is. This is the thing is, you know, his goals and our goals can be different. They can be different, and that's fine. My goals for my own languages, sometimes they were aligned with Moses' goals, sometimes they weren't, and that was fine too, because I knew what he was doing, and he explained it, and I got what Moses' language learning was about, and I got what he was trying to achieve with it, and I always thought that it was a worthwhile endeavor in and of itself. He didn't need to conform to somebody else's idea of what language learning should be. He didn't need to conform to this perfect or amazing level in a language, in every single language that some people might prescribe. He was just all for that warmth and that human contact, and getting under the skin of the languages. And I mean, I love that, you know, there are people that did criticize and got him afterwards, and I love that you've said that. That's absolutely brilliant. He was full of joy by speaking foreign languages of all kinds, in all kinds of places. Polyglota Lanzarote. Yeah, he was absolutely so into speaking languages. He loved getting on video, and he loved speaking to people. He loved leveling up. He loved the whole interaction, and it's super clear on where he is and what he, you know, where he is on his videos and what he was doing. And I loved that energy about him. Okay, the Facebook comments are now starting to appear. Let me just see if I can see. Admiro mucho Moses, más condolencias para su familia. Sí, gracias. Creo que van a regresar. Muchas gracias. Thank you for all of the nice comments. And somebody said to me, somebody wrote that they're glad that I spoke about this, and as I said in the beginning, I do these lives every Sunday anyway, and I honestly couldn't just do a normal live with you as our community, and not talk about Moses. For me, it would have been absurd, because we've all been so affected by this news, and it wouldn't have been right to do a regular live and just talk about language learning. I mean, maybe at the end I might get to some of the questions about language learning, but at the moment I'm actually finding it quite therapeutic myself to read some of your comments and stories as well, and I really appreciate you doing that. So thank you for sharing. I think it's good for us all to come together to just to process things and process what exactly what's happened, and it is important for us to do that as a community, to come together as a community. So thank you to you all for coming and joining. Why? Yeah. Okay. So some, you know, on Instagram, someone's saying that why are there not so many people joining? I don't know. People will join, or they may see the recordings later, and I think everybody deals with these things in their own way, and that's fine too. And so I'm absolutely. The numbers of people watching for me are not as important as the chance to connect with you, the people who are watching, and even if you're watching later, I think that is the important thing, is to sort of make sure that the dialogue is open. Carlos, Greetings from New York. Out of curiosity, did Moses speak Esperanto or discussed it at some point? Do you know what? I can't remember. There were so many. I think he did actually. He did start learning Esperanto. I remember now. Now I've just said I don't remember. I do. He did. He did do Esperanto for a bit as well. Yes. I can't remember how far he got with it though. I just remember he started it because he did do something where he spoke a bit in Esperanto. I mean, there's very few languages he didn't do. He touched on so many of them. Thanks for doing this. I had been following Moses since 2014. Hearing of his passing felt like losing an old friend. David, I think that many people out there will be able to identify with that. Even if you don't meet people and you just follow them, it's extremely difficult when you hear something like this, and it's a very strange feeling nowadays with this. We don't know each other all in person, but we kind of know each other because of the videos and things we put out there, and it's very strange. Craig says we need more polyglot movies out there, and I think that Laoshu 500 Moses format for his videos would be a winner, like Truman Show, but a different subject. It could well be, Craig. I think that his story is worth telling and worth sharing many times. Ryan Booth was one of the first people in the community too. So it's nice to see you commenting, Ryan. Moses had a wonderful way of breaking languages down and focusing on the essentials. That's a great reminder, especially for beginners. Yes, I didn't interact with Moses a lot, but I was also shocked and impacted by his sudden passing. Yeah, I think many people feel and can identify with that too, Ryan. And Ryan was also on the forum that we were all on together as well. In fact, with the forum, what happened was there was a polyglot subsection, and we had this sort of subsection where we all talked together about people with lots of languages, and it was quite funny because we had a room to write all of the languages we speak, and Moses put all of these languages in as well, and there were a few people like that. I think that the other one was Glossica, Mike Campbell, and Mike Campbell didn't really interact that much on the forum, but he had this profile, and everyone would talk about his profile and imagine who he was. Moses actually was a lot more interactive on the forum, and we interacted a lot more with him than many of the others, but many people were on it. Steve Kaufman was on it before my time, I think. He did something scandalous, I think, and got banned. But you know, Steve Kaufman, he likes to be a bit controversial. But you know, even the funny things, like there were interactions, there were disagreements, there were all these things, but we all came together. And this was the thing, is that in spite of differences and everything else, this is a thing I really love about the language learning community. We all come together, and we all know that we bond as one. We bond over you know, this love of language. Chris Broholm, Moses was a great inspiration to me. When I first came across the polyglot movement back in 2013, I spent countless hours watching his leveling up missions. A true loss. Absolutely, Chris. Batu Bulan, it's just so wrong that he's gone so soon. I noticed how with Moses there was never any barrier to anyone's race when it came to speaking languages or making friends. Absolutely, Batu, you're completely right. His laugh, I know his laugh, Polyglot Lanzarote, he had that funny laugh, and actually I wrote something on his wall on the day, and in fact, the languages came in last place. His smile and his laugh came first for me. Exactly. He would surprise people and do the same time on the streets. Yeah, exactly. He would make people smile, and he would laugh a lot, and that comes through whether it was in person or through the internet. It was amazing. Moses was a shining light who inspired and entertained many people. May he rest in peace, indeed, and his memory will live forever. Absolutely. Thank you all for writing all your thoughts. It's actually very nice to see us come together on this. And there's one thing on TikTok actually that someone writes and someone says all the time is oh yeah, there are 30 views, but imagine if 30 people came into your house to see what you were doing. You'd be overwhelmed. And it's kind of like this. I think there's probably 100 or so people at the moment. I'm reading comments from you all, and it's actually very nice to see that you all come together for this. Let me see if I can read any more of these comments. So Adam, maybe we could have challenges going out in the field at polyglot events in whichever country we end up in, and using his style of approaching people in a friendly way and making their day using their language. His confidence in approaching people was astonishing. Absolutely, Adam. I think that it would be very nice to see more of those kinds of things where we go and we do nice things and say nice things to each other. I think it would be lovely. So yeah, thank you for all of these lovely comments and stories. I love it. I think that this was Michael Schroeder. He was a huge inspiration and influence. Loved watching his videos when I was younger and seeing how people would light up when he spoke their languages. Thank you for speaking about him. You're welcome. Thank you for sharing your story. I think we need more and more of people talking about him and talking about what he did and how he affected people in a positive way. Condoléances à sa famille. Merci. Je crois que... let me see. Okay, so polyglots lives don't have a huge public, but who's watching is really interested. Exactly. It's not the quantity, it's the quality of people. Exactly. People who want to talk about him and remember him. And I'm really pleased that so many of you do want to share and to hear about Moses and his life. How can you have communication with me? By interacting on social media. You've got my channel on Instagram, also on Facebook and on YouTube. If you want to be in touch, then you can look at my link tree in the bio. There are some other things coming on here in YouTube. Let me just have a look. I remember one time I wrote him something in Russian. This is Chanel. To him and Mark. They were in Detroit leveling up. He answered it live and had a good laugh because my grammar sucks. That's how cool he was. Yeah. Moses had the best laugh. Yeah, he definitely did. Batu. Okay, thank you. You'll make me cry. I'm not going to read that out. Nimrod. Okay. Moses left many gifts with great memories. He gave great inspiration for language learning. Much love to the family. I think we all echo that. Absolutely. I will really miss the level up format. I wish some polyglots will do more of it. I will if I'm ever good enough. I'm sure you'll be good enough to do it. Moses never ceased to amaze me with both his humility and his ability to make light out of any situation, no matter how unpleasant. I found him truly extraordinary. Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. Thank you, Cole. Let's see. I see some more. You and different language learners resurrected my child's dream to become a polyglot and only communicate with others, but connect with them. Yeah, that's really kind of you to say. I'm really pleased that's the case. That's really, really nice to hear, to read, I should say. And And that's why it's important to do what we love, to learn languages. Absolutely, absolutely. These are people who disagree when he would claim that he spoke a language. There would be people who would disagree when he claimed to speak a language, but Moses could not be ignored. Few have done so much for promoting polyglot lifestyle. Absolutely, Ryan, I completely agree. Very few people have done and reached as many people as Moses. It just incredible. The reach that he had is absolutely incredible. Qué pena. Me sorprendió mucho su muerte. Sí, a mí también. ¿No? Me da mucha pena. Cheers from Brazil. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of your nice comments. And I've had a couple of cries about this. I rewatched the Skype Me Maybe song the other day, and then I shared it in the Polyglot Conference group. And honestly, I found it very difficult not to cry because it just brought back all of the memories of so many years for the community. And I think that's the thing is, it's the whole story. It's been a story that we've been developing for what, 12 years, something crazy like that. It's been a big chunk where we've been in and out of each other's lives, and new people have come in, and so much has gone on in the last 12 years. It's absolutely unbelievable to think that, this is kind of we've really been through a lot of stuff together as a community, as a language family, and yet I'm sure that we'll do the right thing by Moses and keep his memory alive, and keep making sure that more language learners will hear about him, and I'm sure just from his own videos and the sheer number of followers that he has and how popular his videos have become, that will happen no matter what. And yet a film about him would be amazing. I agree, it would be absolutely amazing. So Dr. Popkins says, one of many things that struck me about Moses was that he never it was never about him, except about the enthusiasm and desire to connect. The people whose languages he learnt were the stars of his vids. That's absolutely true, Gareth. It's true. You didn't really see Moses that much in the videos. You saw him. He was holding the camera, and he'd go in and surprise them. And obviously he was very tall, so the camera angle would be up here somewhere as well. And it would be all about the language and the speakers, right? It wouldn't be as much about him. It was incredible. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to see if there are any other questions or thoughts about Moses that you want me to have a look at and to read out. Okay, so Jack Williams says, I've always wanted to learn a new language, which is how I came upon his videos. They then became a comfort watch, like an old TV show. And thanks to Moses, Xiaoma, and yourself, I've really been focusing on my Spanish this year. Excellent, Jack. That's really, really good. It's exactly the right way to honor his memory as well. Good stuff. Yeah, Moses did a lot to promote lesser known and lesser studied languages, like Hmong and Uzbek. And it was, the first time actually I'd heard of Hmong, I think, was because of Moses. I'd never heard of Hmong before. And and it's not it's just a lesser studied language, I guess. I think there are quite a few speakers, but it's a lesser studied language, right? For people outside of that region, and I was like, how has he picked this language? Where has this come from? I think possibly it's known more in the US than it is in the UK, but yeah, Ryan, you're confirming that the Hmong people where you grew up, it's probably something in the US I think you were more familiar with, and I had no clue about Hmong at all. And Moses really introduced me to some languages that I'd never heard of or thought about, and it's yeah, amazing, amazing. So Codeline says we should organize an event named after Moses after the pandemic. As more and more people join the community, they should all know who Moses was, as he perfectly exemplified the community. Absolutely, I completely agree. And there's no reason why we can't honor him at every event, and having one after him. Maybe, I mean, I don't want to sort of think too far ahead of myself because I don't know where we are with anything yet. But that's a really good idea, and I think it's something we can probably do. I think we can do something like that, and I think it would be a very nice thing to do. Does Moses have students who would carry on his legacy? I believe he did have students. I don't know, because the thing is, some polyglots went down. I kind of went down a slightly different track to some of my friends in the community, in that I worked a regular full-time job and did my language stuff, and that's why kind of my social media presence has been a bit less, a bit more sporadic, I guess, than other people in the community. Until recently, I've started doing more regular things. But I know with Moses and with Luca and a few others, they've had and still have. For Luca, still has students where he does language coaching and stuff. And with Moses, I believe it's the same thing. I don't know the students though, and I think we'd have to wait to see how they feel and what they come out and say. I think that it would be encouraging to see someone talk about things like that. Maybe we can give Moses McCormick an award at the Polyglot Conference. Just a thought. Absolutely, Ryan. Why not? I think, and we've got time to play to think about how we do that properly and do it well. What I can say is that some of us are thinking of things that we can do already, and I don't think it will be one thing. I think it will be many things over many years. Colin's fantastic. If you ever need any help to delegate tasks or something like that, I would be more than happy to help. Thank you, Cole. Really appreciate it. You can feel free to drop me a message with your contact details, and maybe we can be in touch. Okay. I'd be very happy to be in touch, and we can see. I may not be able to sort of talk about things immediately, but at least to have your contact details would be great. And you can reach me just via private message. Probably best place is going to be whether on Instagram or Twitter, because they tend to be less busy channels for me. Also, actually, the email address connected to my YouTube will work too. Torburn@gmail. What I loved about Moses was his emphasis on connecting with other human beings, reminding us of the purpose of learning languages. A lot of people focus on the process of learning and not the purpose. You're absolutely right, and it is the purpose that's really important. That's why we do it. That's what motivates us in the end to learn. He'll be remembered not just for his enthusiasm, respect, humility, laughter, and more, but also for his amazing strength. He went through a rough divorce, took a break on YouTube, and came back stronger. You're completely right. He was very he was resilient. He did a number of things that were just super impressive. And he went, as I said before, he went through a stroke in 2015 and came back, and yeah, incredible. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the live. I really appreciate that. That's really nice of you to say. I'm just glad we can all connect. And in kind of true Moses style, I think it's the communication and the connection that's important. So I wanted to reach out and do that for this live, and I'm glad that other people find it useful. You're here. It's glad that you're finding it useful too. Chanel says Moses was also an avid gaming. He loved his gaming. Moses, yeah, he did. He loved his gaming. The whole level up thing, I think, was based on his gaming. I was never a gamer, so I kind of didn't get the reference straight away. But he taught me that as well, because I didn't know that until I saw Moses, the whole level up. I was like, what's level up? What do you mean, like from A1 to A2, A2 to B1? I was quite literal, but I got it when I saw it. And I think that's the thing as well. And when you level up in games, you're kind of out there doing things and being active and getting things done. And that's kind of the approach he took to the language learning, right? Into practicing the languages. And so that was truly special. I think that what I loved most about his videos was how he seemed to make people, many of them not being born in the US, welcome and at home by speaking languages they'd never expect to hear in the US. I think you're absolutely right, Camille, absolutely right. By sort of showing that somebody from the United States was learning the incoming culture's language, I think it's a very powerful thing, and it gives a message of you are welcome and you're valid in our country, and that was a very special thing. Absolutely, I loved that. Let's see. Okay, I like this. This is quite nice because it starts off. It starts off. I thought it was negative when I started reading it. Charles says, "I hated the way he laughed, but in recent videos, the art of conversation, I learned that he laughed his way through tough times in conversations. Now that tactic is my repertoire. Is in my repertoire thanks to Moses. I love that. I love that turned from a negative to a positive for you." Yeah, sometimes those kinds of things like laughing and joking and stuff can just give you that time, buys you time to move forward in the conversation. And yeah, you can tell that he did that in the videos. I thought that was cool. Thank you, Ryan. I'm glad that you appreciate it being dedicated to Moses today. I didn't know how people would be or who would come or what would be said, but I'm glad it's been useful. And for me, it's been useful too. So thank you all so much for coming and sharing the time with me. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, the hour will be up now on Instagram, so I must end it here. But if any of you want to reach out, you're always welcome. And of course, from next Sunday, we'll honor Moses by talking about language learning, and I'm sure his name will come up again, and we'll answer questions about language learning. We'll enjoy our community together and our time together. And until next time, I hope you all stay safe, take care of yourselves, hug the people who are close to you, and tell them why you love them. Take care, everyone.